What's up, weirdos?
Hey, yo.
Me? Shit. I got me a little something rolled. The lights are low, and we're about to chop it up with Abigail on the Manic, Pixie, Weirdo podcast.
Okay.
A safe space for weirdos of all shapes, sizes, colors, and creeds to relax and speak their piece. So grab your glass of wine and grass the chief as I get off the mic so the main weirdo can speak. Peace.
Peace, God.
What is up, weirdos? You're listening to the Manic, Pixie, Weirdo. I'm Abigail, your host, and this is the podcast where we talk about all the different kinds of relationships that we have in our lives. And first, a word from our sponsors. What is up, you guys? I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our sponsor for this episode, Newsly. It's an audio app for iOS and Android where they basically take articles from all over the world and all the trending topics that are on the web at any given moment, and it reads them to you in like a natural voice, like a human being would. It's basically the first time in the history of the internet where the entire web becomes listenable. It's really cool, you guys. They have all different kinds of articles from all different kinds of topics so that you can like stop scrolling and start listening, which I really love. You can follow all the, any topic, all the topics, whatever topic you want to talk about or listen about, from sports, science, Bitcoin, even the Kardashians, like everybody. They have all the latest articles and it reads them to you. So it's super easy. They also have podcasts, which is why I'm talking to you guys about it, because our podcast, along with podcasts from over 50 other countries, are on the app. So that's really, really cool. You can start listening there as well. You can download and use Newsly for free right now at www.newsly.me, or you can use this link in the description. And when you use the promo code P1X1EP0DCAST, that will give you a free month of premium subscription to Newsly. So go check it out, you guys. And thank you so much to Newsly for sponsoring this episode. And we're back. And this week we're talking about my relationship with mental health institutions. So let's just get right into it. There's a lot to say. I have been in rehab, which is a completely other episode. I've been in mental health institutions like hospitals. And I can honestly say that if I had to choose, I would prefer to go to rehab because I actually learned something when I was in rehab. Whereas the several times that I've been hospitalized for mental health issues, I didn't feel like I got help. I didn't really feel like, anything really happened. It was just kind of like a pause. So I've been in mental health institutions several times. And by several, I mean 4 or 5 times over the years. Not consecutively, but just over the years. And, every time that I was hospitalized for some sort of mental health issue, it was usually always because of either my depression or my anxiety. Probably more times than not my anxiety. And, when you're really anxious and you're put into a first of all, okay, let me just put this out there. I hate hospitals. I hate being in hospitals. As a patient, I don't, I don't really mind it going and visiting people in hospitals or that. That doesn't bother me. But physically being a patient in a hospital in any capacity, it weirds me out. I don't like it. I hate it. It's the worst for me. I just don't. It's not something that I enjoy. Not that I think anybody enjoys it, but you know what I'm saying? It's just very, I just hate it. I can't do it. It's very cringe to me. It's very nails on a chalkboard. I just want to get out as fast as possible. There's no way that I am the only person that feels that way. As far as being hospitalized is concerned, I don't think anybody particularly enjoys being in a hospital setting. So, that's just kind of, but that's just kind of like my take. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. Um, and it stresses me out. Like, it really stresses me out. And so I don't know what it is about like being in a hospital setting that, like, as a patient, excuse me. I don't know what it is about being, like, as a patient in a hospital that, like, that does that for me, that just like weirds me out and like makes it very cringe for me. But it does. I don't know if it's that, like, the sterile environment, or if it's the fact that like you really get no sleep. I don't know what it is, but it's very aggravating and like agitating for me, just like in general. So when I have been in like the hospital, in mental health hospitals, I'm already I already don't want to be there. Not that I think anybody wants to be there. I don't think anybody's like, hey, you know what? Today I really want to go to a mental health institution and like be a patient. And that sounds like a bunch of fun. Like, no, that's not. I don't think that's a thing. And if it shouldn't be a thing. But I just don't. I'm not entirely sure what it is that weirds me out. And it's just like, it's already stressful. And every time that I've been hospitalized for a mental health situation, like I said, is usually because of my depression or my anxiety. Probably more times my anxiety than anything. and so like my senses and stuff are like already, very heightened. I'm already like very like hypersensitive to everything that's going on. And that effect becomes compounded when you're in a situation where, you know, well, at least for me, like, I feel like I have no control over the situation. And as you guys know, I'm a big control freak. I'm a huge control freak. So that's like not good. It's like not, it's not the best environment for someone like me to be in. And I really feel like a lot of the reason why, like, people go to mental health institutions, especially like myself, is because we need help. Like, we already feel out of control. And, being put in an environment where you have even less control is really, really, really aggravating. It's very unnerving. It's just not great. And I have been in situations where I have been both voluntarily, so that just means like I sign myself in, and involuntary, so that means that like I was court ordered to like be there. Like involuntary just meaning like I didn't sign up to be there, kind of a thing. And obviously when it's involuntary, there is a very big lack of control that is there. And even when it is voluntary, it still feels very out of control, because you basically have to sign a piece of paper that says like you agree to like be placed in this facility for a certain amount of time. In Texas, there is at least like you have to stay for at least 3 days before they'll like release you, but there's no guarantee that they'll even release you. And it feels very manipulative. It feels like a very manipulative situation when there's this like mandatory hold, or there is a certain amount of time, like an allotted amount of time, a minimum amount of time that you have to be in a situation or in this facility. And it's first of all, it's not fun. There's nothing fun about it. It's not like, you're going on vacation. No, it's very much like, it's very childlike in the way that you are treated. And not only is it very childlike in the way that you are treated, it's kind of degrading in a way. Now I have been in a mental health facility where, and that's where it's not always, that's not always the case. But on a whole, like I would probably say like 75 to 80% of the time, that's what it feels like. And that has a lot to do with, I think that has a lot to do with the staff. I think that has a lot to do with staffing. I think that has a lot to do with the environment in which you're placed. I think that has a lot to do with the training that staff is given on like how to treat patients. And I don't necessarily agree with like all of the things. I just don't agree with like how it's all sort of like encompassing like all of it. I just don't agree with like all of it, which sounds really terrible. I know it does. I just don't though. I just don't think that like the way that we do it in this country is good. I don't think that it like is actually helping anybody. Because the vast majority of the time, actually I would say like the majority of the time, that I have been in mental health institutions, I have felt like I have not felt relaxed. I have not felt at ease. I have not felt comfortable. I have not felt safe. I have felt very on edge. I have felt very much like I got to get out of here. Like, how do I get out of here? And then it's literally like a fake it till you make it situation where it's just like, okay, I'm going to just like say and do all of the things that they're telling me that I need to say and do in order to get the fuck out, because I'm not really getting what I need while I'm in here. And it's, that's not a great feeling. That's a very stressful position to be in, where you feel like there's just like this checklist of like things that you have to do in order to like get out. And once you like meet all of these like, requirements, like once you've checked all these like specific boxes, then they'll like let you leave. And it's just not good. It's just, it's not comfortable. It's not fun. It's not relaxing. It doesn't put me at ease. It puts me on edge. And okay, so you might be asking, well, then why go back? Well, because sometimes, I need medical attention. Sometimes I cannot, I literally just like can't function, and I need medical attention. I need some help. And I can't wait until I go to therapy. I can't wait until I, see my psychiatrist or my psychologist again. I just can't wait that long, because what's happening to me is happening right now, and I need help right now at this very moment. And there's not really an in-between. We've talked about mental health hotlines before and how completely unhelpful they are. And, and so you've kind of, it's like you've kind of exhausted all of your resources, and the only other option that you have is to go to the ER and sort of roll the dice with that and see if they will, help you. Now I have been in situations where there's like an inpatient. So let me back up a little bit. So there are several different kinds, at least in Texas. I would assume that it's the same in other states, but I know for sure in the state of Texas that there are several different kinds of like, not treatment plans, but types of treatment that you can get. And what I just mean by that is that like there's inpatient, which means that you are like in the hospital. You're in a hospital-like setting, in a psychiatric hospital-like setting, where you essentially live there for, however long you need to be there. And they provide like meals. They provide, they basically provide everything for you. And, it's it kind of sounds like it's a vacation, but it's not, you guys. It's just really not. And then there is something called outpatient, where you basically go like for the day. You go and you just like are a part of like groups and things of that nature, which completely unhelpful. The only time that I ever found group helpful was when I was in rehab, and it was for like a very specific thing where like it wasn't really about like sharing. It was more about like a lecture kind of a thing. And that was really the only time that I found group helpful. So for those of you that don't know, it's a group of people. And you basically, it's a very like Socratic method kind of a thing, where there's like a topic or a person that like, is sitting there, and, they're either there to do like group therapy, which would be like where everybody shares in like a circle, or it's, it's like show and tell, except there's nothing to show, you just tell. And I've never found that helpful. I've never found that remotely even like helpful. I'm sure that there's data on it that shows that it's helpful, but it's just never worked for me. Because I'm a very private person, and I don't necessarily want everyone knowing my business as far as like the things that are going on with me, like internally, in that sense. And so I just have never really found a group situation, like a group setting therapy situation, like helpful. I find it very demeaning. I find it very intrusive, which again can make me feel very on edge, because I don't feel safe, in those situations. I'm one of those people where it's like, if I don't know you personally and I don't trust you, then I'm not about to just like share my entire life story, or like really, do a deep dive into like what's happening with me. And I just don't find it helpful. But it's like a big part of being in a psychiatric hospital is like the group share kind of a thing. And, and I don't want everyone knowing my business kind of a thing. Like it's just not helpful. I just don't like group. It's not good for me. It just doesn't work for me. It might work for some people. I'm just not one of those people then that it like works with, and it, because I just don't feel comfortable in those settings. Another thing that like, happens is it's very childlike. So it's very, we're in kindergarten, we're in preschool kind of a thing. And it's because like they'll have like activities, you guys, and it's like, like coloring or like a game or, something along those lines. Now, I will say this. I do find coloring to be helpful and relaxing for me. What I don't find helpful is I don't want to show and tell. I don't want to sit there and explain to you why I colored the picture a certain color. I don't want to sit there and explain my reasoning or my thinking behind like why I chose to do what I did as far as coloring is concerned. I prefer to just color because it's just one of those, I use it more of as a mindfulness exercise. And by that, I just mean where it's like I'm just focused on coloring the picture of whatever the picture is. It doesn't really, I don't particularly have like a preference of pictures. It's just like I just want to color the damn picture. um, but I also don't, I'm very sensitive to like sounds and like noises. And so I prefer when I'm in those spaces to like be alone and like coloring and using it as like a mindfulness exercise where I am just sort of like in my own space, just trying to relax and just kind of trying to like decompress and be in my own like little bubble, in my own little worlds kind of a thing. And that's not usually how it works in a mental health facility. It's just not. There's generally a sharing portion, because it's part of like it would be considered part of like a group exercise kind of a thing. And yeah, I just don't want to like have to justify or explain why I colored a picture the way that I did, or why I specifically chose to use markers and crayons and not colored pencils. It's a texture thing for me, guys. I don't like colored pencils. I don't know what it is. It's just that's not true. I know what it is. It's a texture thing for me. I can't, for some, it's I just can't do it. It's like a sensory texture thing, and I can't. I don't like colored pencils. So I'm so sorry to all of you that love colored pencils. I just can't do it. More power to you. I just can't. I prefer markers and crayons. But anyway, and so like those are the kinds of things that would be like considered a group activity, or things that are unhelpful to me, or things that like I don't, another thing is that I'm okay. Now this is definitely a fault of my own. I'm not good at being teachable. I'm working on it. It is something that I have had to work on my entire life, being teachable. And what I mean by that is just like learning to sit there and, not roll my eyes when someone's talking, not be judgmental, not be, not act like I know everything, basically. Because I know that I don't. I know that I don't know everything. What I do know, though, is I know what helps me. I do know what helps me in certain situations. And the vast majority of the time that I have been in these mental health facilities, I don't get what I need. And that really, I think, sort of defeats the purpose of even having them. Because if you're not getting what you need, sorry guys, it's early. I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep. But if I'm not getting what I need, then, I understand, well, then why would you continue to go back? And like I said, because sometimes I really do need medical attention, and I can't wait. And in those situations, I don't know what I need, because I'm usually in the middle of either a manic episode or having a panic attack, or both, which is really not good. And generally how that gets fixed is it just means that like my medication is off. So I will need to, like adjust the medication that I'm already on. I don't want to add to that medication. I don't want to be on 900 different pills. Okay. I'm somebody who, like, at the current moment, I'm on 3 different medications. Okay. And that's good enough for me. Like, I don't want to be on any more than that, because I have been in the past, and it literally, we've talked about it. It gets to a point where I feel like I'm just shoving pills down my throat and nothing is happening, and it's not doing anything, and I'm not getting the help that I need. Or, a big go-to for people in mental health institutions is, we'll just make you go to sleep. And to me, just making me go to sleep is not a solution because you haven't addressed any of the problems. You've just made me go to sleep. And I don't want to just go to sleep. I don't want to be sedated. I want to, I'm a pretty solutions oriented person, and I want to find a solution to why this, these things are happening. And, and once I'm able to calm down from a panic attack or from a manic episode, where I'm able to just sort of like relax and breathe and just be in a space where I'm like, and just like breathe, and I feel like, okay, I might have a little bit better of a grip on what's happening. I want to feel like I'm being listened to, and I want to feel like I'm being heard. And I've never really felt that way when I've been in a mental institution. It feels very like this is just the McDonald's recipe on like how to get, everybody through. And we're just gonna, franchise this out, and we're gonna just, assembly line it to the point where, everybody gets this certain treatment. And these are all of the things that every single person has to do in order to leave. And that's not always the most helpful, because not everybody's the same. I needed to get a drink. Sorry, guys. Some coffee. Oh. That's another thing. Speaking of, coffee, you can't have it in mental health institutions. They like won't let you have coffee. They'll have like decaf or whatever, but they won't let you have like actual coffee, like with caffeine in it, which is completely unhelpful for me because I need caffeine in the morning. Yes, I understand it is an addiction, and it is a very addictive substance, and I am addicted to it most likely. However, we in this country have decided that caffeine addiction is a perfectly acceptable form of addiction. So I'm going to need some caffeine in the morning, and it's really unhelpful when I can't get my morning caffeine. And also, I have really bad insomnia. I'm on medication that like helps curb that a little bit, but it still hits me sometimes. And, for example, the night before this, so last night, the night before I am recording this, I had about 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, something like that, with medication. And that effect gets compounded when I am in a mental health institution, because I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I'm in a safe space. I can't sleep. And so I can't sleep. I simply cannot. And if anything, it'll be like I take cat naps throughout the day, which again is not necessarily the best thing, because that can sometimes come off as looking like I'm dissociating, or I am being distant, or I am, being very withdrawn. And so that can count against me as far as like being able to leave. Another thing that, I'm not a people person. I'm pretty introverted, just like just naturally. I'm a pretty introverted person. My husband is a very introverted person. We're two introverts. We have very low social batteries. And, part of like the checklist that, they have in order to let you leave, they have to see that you're being like sociable, because otherwise you're considered, like I said, withdrawn, depressed, those kinds of things. And they don't take into account like your personality type. And they don't take into account that, some people just can't be around people for very long periods, for long extended periods of time, because we just don't have the kind of social battery that, say, like an extrovert has. And so and so that can count against me. And so when I'm in those situations, I have to kind of force myself to, like, be sociable and, like, be a part of, even when I really don't want to. And when I, and I understand everybody has to do things they don't want to do. Yeah, I got it. Okay. However, when I'm constantly in a situation where I have to do everything that just, like, goes against, like, my personality type, what I'm emotionally feeling, how I'm doing mentally, like, when it goes against all of those things, that's a detriment. That's harmful. That's not helpful, at least not to me. And so it's rough, guys. It's real rough sometimes. It can be rough. So usually what ends up happening once I leave is I sleep for like 3 days. No joke. Like, I sleep for like 3 days because I'm catching up, and I'm catching up on not only sleep, but like my body, not just my body, but like my emotional battery, my social battery, my mental health battery. All of it is like having to go back to the recharging station, and I will have no contact for like days with people. And that's not really helpful, because that doesn't do anything for me. In fact, it can be kind of detrimental, and it can kind of help spur the cycle. Like, it can get kind of cyclical, where it's like, well, now I'm tired, and I can't do everything that I need to do because my social battery is just completely on E. Like, I have no emotional stability at all. It's just done. Like, I can't do anything, which then can come across as being withdrawn. And then, because I am withdrawing, because I am trying to recharge my social battery, but then I get behind on the things that, like, I need to do in my life to, like, make me feel like I'm being productive and, busy and doing what I want to do. And so I get behind on those things, and then my anxiety starts to go up, and it all feeds into itself, and it just becomes very, very overwhelming. And I feel like that's very, counterproductive. Because if we're going to say that we have mental health institutions for people, and it's supposed to help them, then I think we need to start listening to people that have been in mental health institutions, and or are currently residing in mental health institutions. And, and we just don't do that, because we just label people as crazy, or, that's the big one, is that you're just labeled as a crazy person, when really all it is that you just need help. You need a little bit of a timeout. You need some help, and not in the timeout sense that, like, people are thinking like, I need a timeout from life. I don't need to be stressed out because I'm in a mental health institution and I can't go to work and I can't do what I need to do. And so then my anxiety goes up, and then I'm already probably in a manic episode. I'm already probably in that manic phase. And so it just compounds and compounds and compounds. And then you don't feel like you're being listened to. And, it just compounds all of the effects of all of this stuff. And it's highly aggravating and highly frustrating. And you don't want to come off as aggressive either, even if you are aggravated or frustrated. You because that's a red flag, and they'll flag you for that, and then they'll keep you longer. that's another thing, is that you're not really allowed to express any emotion. You're really not. You're not really allowed to express very many emotions. And if you're someone like me that feels things very deeply, and, to a certain degree, very personally, that's a struggle. That's a big struggle, because if I need to cry, like if that's what I need as a form of a release, then I need to feel like I am in a safe space to be able to do that. And where I'm not going to get like docked for it, where it's not going to become a detriment for me. It's not going to be something that's like a problem, where they, swoop in and just decide, okay, well, you're hysterical. It's like, I'm not really hysterical. I'm just crying, and I just need to have like a good cry. And then you get labeled as, something like that, like hysterical. And then they shoot you full of Haldol and you go to sleep, and yeah. And then you wake up and you're like, I don't know what the fuck happened. And then that's another thing, because sometimes when I have really bad panic attacks, I will black out and I won't remember what happened. Like at all, like nothing. I may or may not remember bits and pieces. Most likely, I do not remember any of it. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember if I said anything. I don't remember what I did. I don't know any of it. And, so you might be thinking, well, good, then they need to just like sedate you and put you to sleep. Yeah, well, except I have been in situations where that has occurred. And when I wake up and when I like come out of it, I am now at the mercy of whatever it is they tell me happened. And that can't always be trusted. Because I've been in situations where that has happened, and then, other patients will tell me, are you okay? Like, and they'll explain to me what happened. It's a totally different story than what I'm being told by the professionals happened. And so that's very nerve-wracking and very aggravating, because now it's like, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know what to trust, because I can't trust my own mind. I can't be a reliable narrator for my own life in those situations. But also, I can't rely on the people around me to tell me what happened, what actually happened, because they're going to say whatever it is they're going to say. And to a certain extent, it feels like they're going to say whatever they're going to say in order to keep me there longer, because they make more money the longer that I'm there. And so I just can't. Then, I mean, what do you do when everyone around you is an unreliable narrator? What do you do? How do you know what actually happened? That's a very scary place to be. It's a very scary place to be when you can't trust anything. And it can feel like you're going crazy. It really can, because you don't know who you can trust. And you don't know what to trust. And then again, that compounds the effect. And then it becomes a cycle. And, and that's why it's one of those things for me where it becomes, it's not about getting the help that I needed. It ceases to become about getting the help that I needed or getting the help that I wanted. More getting the help that I wanted. More getting the help that I wanted. But that ceases to become relevant. And that ceases to become, the main focus. And so, you begin, that's why, at least for me, when I'm in those situations, it becomes just about like, I go into like fight or flight mode, and it becomes very much about like, okay, what do I have to do to get the fuck out of here? Just tell me what I have to do. Just tell me what I have to do. It's usually pretty easy to figure out what you have to do. to get out. But that's the easy part, figuring out what you have to do to get out. The hard part is actually doing those things and being convincing about it, which is not good, because I shouldn't have to put on a show in order to get out of a situation that was supposed to help me in the first place. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how it feels. That's what it looks like. That's how it goes. At least for me, that's how it's gone in the past. And again, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody at all. Not actually. It helps the people who are lining their pockets, for, the time that I'm there. But it doesn't actually help me, the patient, the person that's, there because they need help and they want help and they want to get help. Because that's what it really is, especially when I sign myself in. Even the times that I've been involuntarily admitted to a mental health facility, I have been very alert. It's called alert, awake, and oriented. And it just means that, like, I'm all there. I understand exactly what's happening. I'm fully aware of my surroundings, of what's going on. I'm able to communicate effectively. And so even in those situations, I have been at least attentive and attuned into what is happening and what is going on, and pretty calm about it, relatively speaking. I don't generally, once I'm in those situations and once I understand that I'm in those situations, that I'm in a situation where I am being forced to be, in a psychiatric facility, or even to a certain extent not being forced, that I am signing myself in. But really, when it's been involuntary, I go into fight or flight mode. And for me, fight or flight mode looks like, I calm down immediately. I know exactly what's going on. I become very attentive, very, very aware of how this is going to go, of what this looks like. And I understand what the situation is and what is at stake, because what's at stake is my freedom and my health. And so then it's just about, for me, it's just about getting out and figuring out what I need to do to get out and to convince these people what I need to do to be released. And that, I'm going to just say it again. It's not good, because that's not helpful. That's not helpful, because I'm not getting what I need or what I wanted. Yeah. We can't all get what we want, but sometimes you get what you need. Yeah, except in these situations, for the most part. I don't think I've ever been in a mental health facility where I've gotten either what I needed or what I wanted. Because, like I said, it's very rubber stamped. It's very assembly line. Everybody's the exact same. This is what you got to do to get the fuck out. And if you do all of these things, then we'll let you leave. And we may or may not send you home with the medication that we prescribed to you while you were here. As I've been in those situations too, where, like, they've put me on medication and then, like, I'm leaving and there's no script. They're going to put me on medication for a week. Which, by the way, if you know anything about medication, it usually takes about a week for it to work, for it to begin to work. There are very few medications where that is not true. There are very few medications where it takes a shorter amount of time. Usually it takes about 7 to 10 days for medication to start, for you to actually start seeing the effects of a medication. And then you're just going to, like, not send me home with the medication that I need. or you're going to send me home with, I've had both situations where they've sent me home with nothing and they've sent me home with like a myriad of things. Now, generally speaking, I usually just don't even get those scripts filled. I'm just like, fuck that, because like I said, I don't want to be on 9 million different medications. There's no need for that. I don't want to do that. And it can be very triggering too. The big thing though is that I never feel like I'm being listened to or I'm being heard. And that fucking sucks, especially when I'm already in a situation where my emotional like ability is compromised. And it's just not good. It's just not good. And, so I wonder, I've had all of these, I've had all these experiences and these various and sundry experiences, with mental health institutions, being in them, being out of them, what it takes to get out of them. And I've really kind of come to the conclusion that like, I don't even know anymore if these are actually helping anybody. I don't necessarily know if overall speaking, like generally speaking, they're hurting people. But I am very much concerned and very not convinced that they're helping anybody, because I've never felt like I've had help, like I've gotten the help that I needed or that I wanted. I've just felt like, I've been put in a position where now all I have to do is all I'm focused on and all I'm trying to do is, getting out instead of getting help. And that's not a good feeling. And when you don't feel like you're being listened to or being taken seriously either, because that's another big one, is being taken seriously. That's very demeaning. It's very, very demeaning. It's also very discouraging, and it just doesn't feel good, you guys. It just really doesn't feel good. And it's very discouraging. And the problem is, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything, even though I like to think that I do. And I like to, sometimes try and convince myself that I do, which isn't always a good thing. I'm aware, I got it. I'm aware that's not always a good thing. It's, something I'm working on. It's just, it doesn't feel good, and it's very discouraging, and I'm not entirely sure what the solution is. I wish somebody would do like a survey of people that have been in mental health institutions, and find out what it is they liked, what it is they didn't like, what it was that helped them, what it was that didn't help them. And then just overall figuring out like, what it is people actually need. What are the reasons people go to mental health institutions? What are the reasons that people get checked in voluntarily and involuntarily? And I just wish somebody would do like a survey or a big study or something. Maybe somebody has. And if they have, and if you know that they have, please feel free to reach out and let me know. ManicPixieWeirdo@protonmail.com. Please let me know. I personally don't know of any sort of study or survey or anything like that has been done where people have taken that seriously and where like those things have been implemented. And so it just feels like, what do you do? What is it that we're supposed to do when, I need help right now? And I can't wait till my next therapy appointment. I can't wait until my next doctor's appointment where we can adjust the medication. I need help at this moment. I need help right now because something is wrong right now. And I can't call a mental health hotline because those are completely unhelpful. They don't do anything. We've talked about that. But, what else can I do? What else am I supposed to do? It's one thing to be like, well, reach out, reach out and like talk to people and, and it's like that doesn't always work. Most of the time when I've gone into mental health facilities, it's because I have tried everything that I can think of, everything that the internet can think of, everything that my friends can think of, everything that my doctors can think of, everything that my parents can think of, everything that the internet can think of, beforehand. And this is my last resort. This is a last resort for me. And when I'm on my last resort, nobody is in their right mind when they're on their last resort. Nobody wants to go to the ER and check themselves in and only to discover that they're not going to be listened to or heard or taken seriously or, get the help that they desperately need. Nobody likes that feeling, okay? Nobody wants that feeling. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, you know what? I really want to go to the ER today. And I think it would be really awesome if I checked myself into a mental health institute. Like, nobody does that. That's not a thing. That's not how that works. It is a last resort. It's a last ditch effort to try and get some help. And when that last ditched effort to get some help doesn't work or doesn't feel like it's working, that's a bad place to be in, because where do you go? Who do you turn to? And I don't know the answer to that question. I don't have those answers. And it feels very hopeless. It does. It feels very hopeless. It feels very like I'm trying to do what needs to be done. I'm trying to get the help that I need. I feel like I'm doing everything that I can in my power to do what I'm supposed to be doing, and nothing has worked. And so it kind of feels like you're just on your own. You're figure it out. Suck it up, figure it out, pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of a thing. And that's not always an option for some people. And it hasn't always been an option for me, which is why I've gone to the hospital in my last ditch effort to get the help that I need, only to find that, it's the same story. It's just a different place. I've been in mental health institutions in my home in Chicago. I've been in mental health institutions in Texas. I've been, and it's like the formula is the same no matter where I go. And it's just the same story, different place. And when that's consistently the story, it doesn't feel like there's any hope or there's any real help or that anybody actually wants to help you. It just feels like you're just a number on a piece of paper that, needs to check all these boxes in order for you to get the fuck out because they have to make room for somebody else. And just get this done as fast as possible. Make sure they're basically stable enough to leave, and then good luck. Have fun. We'll see you next time. Kind of a thing. And that's bad. I don't think that's good. I don't find that comforting. I don't find that helpful. I don't find that encouraging. I just don't find that to be a good solution to a problem that has many, many, many different prongs. It's a multifaceted problem, and it's not, which is why I'm not entirely sure what the solution is because, you know, it is such a big issue and it has so many different, you know, pieces to it. There's so many different moving pieces to it that, you know, it's very difficult to know what the solution would be for that. And, you know, like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I have ideas on how we can fix the problem, starting with like, you know, big studies and serious studies and surveys and questions and just, you know, what would happen if we just asked people what they need from it? Like, what is the harm in just like asking people what they need from the mental health institutions and then implementing those solutions, implementing those things that people need and finding solutions to those problems? I just don't understand what the harm would be in doing that. And I think a big part of the problem is that, you know, as progressive as it has been for mental health institutions, and by that I just mean like, you know, we're not chaining people to walls anymore and making people live in their own feces. You know, we're not, the history of mental health institutions is horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And even though we're not necessarily doing those things for people anymore or to people anymore, it just looks different. The struggle is real, and the torture to a certain extent just looks different. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that like we're still in a place in the United States where we don't take mental health very seriously, and you're just labeled as crazy or insane. And, you know, we'll just put you over here, just go away, put you over here in this little box, and we'll deal with you later, kind of a thing. And it's like, well, it's later. You guys, it's later. It's definitely later. So what are the solutions? And we need big progressive solutions to these problems if we're actually going to address the problem, and the root cause of these problems too. And these are not people, you know, those of us that have been in mental health institutions. I didn't sign up to be a lab rat, man. I don't want to be a lab rat. That's not what I signed up for. I signed up to get help. I signed up, you know, to try and help solve the problem that I'm having in my own life. I didn't sign up to be a lab rat. I didn't sign up to just be shoved into a corner and told, you know, here, color this picture, go to group, and, you know, take these pills, and we'll figure your shit out later. Like, that's not a solution. That's not a viable solution. Not to me. Not to this problem. That's a just go away, don't bother me. Like, ew, gross kind of an attitude. And that doesn't count as help in my world. It might in some people's world, but it just doesn't count as help in my world. So I guess this is a plea for like, we have to do better. Please, I am begging you to like help us do better. And I don't understand why that's such a big problem for some people. And I don't understand why it's such a big deal and why we can't start coming. It's 2022, my friends. The bar is on the floor. The bar is on the floor. And when the bar is on the floor, the chances of you helping anyone are so low. it's slim to none. It's just slim to none. So, okay, I'll stop. I'll stop ranting now. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to make this into like a whole rant or whatever. It's just a pretty important issue for me, and I just don't understand why we can't start, finding solutions that work for everyone on an individual basis. And because to me, there's got to be a way. There's got to be, you're never going to convince me that, this is the best way to do it. Because as someone who has experienced this, if this is the best way to do it, I quit. I fucking quit because it sucks. Our solution sucks. It's not good. It doesn't work. And I don't know a single person that it has ever worked for. So, yeah. We need to do better. I hope we can do better. Yeah. Well, okay, I'll stop now. Thank you guys so much for listening to the woes of me. Oh, woe is me. I understand. I hope this didn't come across as like me just complaining the whole time. It might have. If that is, I'm sorry. If it came across as me just ranting and raving and complaining the whole time, like, that's kind of what I felt like I needed to do with this topic, though, because I just have a lot to say about it. But next week we're going to talk to a wonderful, very lovely woman who I found on TikTok, actually, and I'm very excited for you to listen to that conversation. But I did want to go ahead and just like end it there, I guess, so that you guys don't have to listen to me rant and rave anymore. But thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too boring, but yeah. So I guess shout out things. We have a Patreon. We definitely have a Patreon, the Manic Pixie Weirdo on Patreon. That's where we are. I am currently in the process of making sure that I am staying on top of it. So, yeah, so we have a Patreon if you'd like to do that. If you don't want to support this podcast monetarily, totally fine. I completely get it. Money is tight for everybody right now, especially with gas prices, you guys. Ugh. My husband filled up the truck the other day and it was like $100. So I totally get it if you can't support this podcast monetarily. I just wanted to throw that out there. If you have an idea for a show that you would like to hear, or you want to talk about your relationship with mental health issues in an email or anything like that, email me, manicpixieweirdo@protonmail.com. I will always listen, and I'm so grateful to anybody who reaches out in that way. You can also reach out on Twitter at MPWeirdo Podcast, or Instagram and TikTok, _main_weirdo1, or you can leave me a voicemail at manicpixieweirdo.podcast.com. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and shout outs to Mulu for creating the intro. Thank you so much to Mulu. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy the intro. I hope you guys do too. I hope you guys like it. But thank you guys so much again. And as always, be kind and stay weird. Bye guys.